I'm sure when Molly's ready, she'll join. Okay. Says our meeting is live on YouTube. Let me just double check that over on my channel. And there we go. We are live.
All right.
Yay. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be able to connect with you guys live on YouTube. I thank you so much for your patience while we got our broadcast started today. Hey, Brooke, welcome. Thanks for joining. And for everyone else who's joining live, welcome and hello. Renee, thanks for being here. If you're willing to, I ask that you go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. That helps the content get circulated while it's live, and it gives everyone the opportunity who needs the message to find it. Joy de Vive, welcome. Gemini Princess, welcome. Maureen and Crystal, so good to see you. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to just kind of give everyone who's joining us a little bit of context for how this conversation came to be. So, posting on YouTube, you end up getting a lot of comments from a lot of people who are in varying stages of their journey. And just like all other social media platforms, people sometimes, they say things or share things that they may not always share with, the everyday passerby, or in the way that the everyday, they're in their everyday interactions. And one of the things that people share with me is that sometimes they have recently lost a twin and they have no idea how they'll cope with a loss of unimaginable proportions. And they're curious, well, what actually happens next spiritually? What happens from here? And while my guides did share some insight on this last year during a Q&A, live channeling, they prompted me early this year to put together a panel of people who've been through this, who are willing to share their experience. I guess this was late February. The reasoning for this was to let people who are experiencing this kind of loss know, you're not alone. And while everyone's grief is unique, you will have your specific path, and there's no right way to do it. There's a very particular type of grieving that can happen when one's divine counterpart crosses over. And my guides pointed out to me that the lack of conversation and information on the topic has left so many people feeling even more alone and with less faith in their spiritual path. And that just prolonged a lot of their pain and their heartbreak, that aloneness. When there was just so much love surrounding them and supporting them and wanting to assist them from the divine realm. So they said, put together this panel to be a bridge. So here we are. That prompting arrived in late February of this year, and it was before the 2020, if you happen to be watching this post 2020, it was before the COVID-19 pandemic really went global. At that point, it was still a tragedy that seemed to only impact China, and that we've now since found out it was probably in more than just China, earlier than just February. And since then, as you all know, this pandemic has changed all of our lives in very many ways. And then one by one, the courageous souls who would form this panel came forward. And while I can't say that this is an experience that everyone's going to relate to or understand, it's very important for me to reiterate before we begin that everyone's experience with grief and loss is going to be unique. Once in a while on our panels, I've noticed that some people feel triggered enough by what's being shared to pass judgment on others' connections or experiences. And as if kind of what's being shared is somehow an affront to their personal experience. And it's not that. It's simply a different experience and actually doesn't mean anything about what we're going through if it's not our experience or what's been shown to be true for us. So if you're guided to listen into this video, I invite you into the spirit of living and let live as you listen. I ask that, especially given the sensitive nature of this video, that we suspend judgment and take in the information that resonates and leave the rest in peace for the hearts and souls who need to hear it. And I really thank you for that kindness of spirit, as does everyone else who's going to watch these videos and read the comments in the months and years to come. So for this panel, we're joined today by three very courageous and loving souls, two of who you can see. There's one who's, she wasn't really comfortable sharing her face because she just has a whole very different life in a different arena. And this world, the twin flame world, her twin passed before she was publicly in the world of twin flame. And that being said, it's okay. She's chosen to be vulnerable enough to share her story anyway, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So, they're here to share their stories in the hopes of assisting others who may need it. And if you need it, I thank you for watching. So first up, we have Rochelle. Rochelle Ronay is the author of 9 romance novels, and she met her twin flame in August of 2015. And for the two of them, it was instant recognition, and it felt like coming home for the both of them. She writes about their connection on her blog, thepassionchronicles.blogspot.com. And if you really resonate with what you hear from her, you'd like to be in touch with her, she did offer that you can use the contact form on her website to reach out. We're also joined today, if you want to give a wave, Rochelle, so people know who Rochelle is, that would be fabulous. Thank you. We're also joined today by Jennifer. Jennifer is a wonderful and lovely mama of 3 and grandma of 1. I don't understand how you're aging backwards, woman. You must divulge the secrets.
My oldest is almost 26. My grandbaby's 3 months.
I don't get it.
Bless your heart.
You're going to have to share the secrets. That's a different live stream. But Miss Jennifer is a mama of 3, grandmama of 1, in addition to being an ordained spiritual healer, Reiki master, and teacher. She is an author, and she is also a life coach. And she has graciously decided to share her email address. If you would like to be in touch with her, I'll be linking that email address and Rochelle's website below. And then we have Miss Nikki from the Philippines, who is my invisible partner in crime today.
Yes, there's 2 and 2.
Yes. Nikki's 47, and she's working as an accountant on a pharmaceutical company in the Philippines. She started her twin flame journey in May of 2017, and her twin crossed over only within the last 60 days, April 17th of this year. But she did feel compelled to share her story anyway. And I said, however you feel like joining, you are more than welcome here, sister. She currently has 3 young adult children who live with her, and that must be such a blessing, knowing that they're safe and they are with you during this time. So for the format of this panel, they're going to each share their individual stories, followed by a chance for you to ask them your questions about the journey. And lastly, if they have provided a way for you to be in touch with them on the topic, you'll be able to find it under the video. Do note that not everyone on the panel has chosen to do that, to offer private one-on-one post-broadcast support. So I ask that you respect that. If they haven't left the info, it's because they're not interested in being contacted in that way. And they're just simply sharing their story today as a matter of reminder that you're not alone. If this has been your experience, and if you've experienced what they have, you're also not crazy. Ladies, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. Okay. So anyone can go first on the story share. Um, I'll leave it up to you to decide what order you'd like to go in.
Do you want me to go? I'll go.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's very lovely and kind of you to do so. I appreciate that.
Okay, so you wanted to know when we met, how we knew it was different, correct? I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm following that. Okay.
Yeah. When you met, how you knew it was different, the days, months, or years leading up to the passing, what
Okay.
kind of happened in that period of time, and then what happened after.
Okay, so my twin's name was, I call him AJ, but his name was Aaron. Him and I met the first time in 1997. So that's been a long time ago. I was 20 years old at the time and he was 24. And he worked at like it wasn't really a nightclub, but like that type of a place. And I was there with a friend and I had just recently split with my boyfriend. I mean, you're 20. I mean, whatever. Wasn't anything crazy serious, but a friend of mine had went out and I can remember she saw him first, and I can still, even to this day, all these years later, I can still see that moment in my mind's eye. It was like one of those moments you never forget. And I can remember seeing him across the way. He was like a security bouncer person, whatever. And my friend said, "Don't you even look at him. He's mine." And I said, "Okay, not really worried about it." But he just was only drawn towards me. And so he kind of made me pay attention, even though I knew that in that instant when I saw him, it was that recognition. Like, and at 20, what do you really know about that? And I could just remember feeling like I knew him from somewhere, but I didn't. And so he came over and he felt the same way. And so instead of migrating towards my friend, he was migrating towards me, and we started dating not long after that. And I had ended up getting back together with just a very toxic boyfriend that I had been with. And by the time, which it didn't take long, it was like a couple days, I realized that I wanted to be with AJ. And I went to his house and he had moved out of the state. The pain was so much for him that he just left. He went and moved from Iowa to South Carolina he was a football player, and he had went to just decided to pursue that, and he left, and he wrote me some letters and called, because there's no cell phones back then, anything like that. And we tried to stay in touch, and then it just no, actually my friend and I drove down to Alabama in 1998 because I just felt like I had to see him again. And from that point on, then we went our separate ways, and I never heard from him again or saw him again until 2011. And I still lived where we had been, and he had lived in Mississippi for many years, and he came back after was in the middle of going through a divorce. And it was my 35th birthday. My good friend called me, and I was getting ready to go out with my boyfriend at the time and my children at my mom for my birthday. And my boyfriend was in the shower, and I was getting ready at the mirror, and my friend kept calling me. And I'm like, called her. This better be good. Like, you've called me 100 times. And she said, "You're never gonna believe who was just in my place of business." And I said, nothing was coming to my head. And she said, "AJ." And everything stopped. And I can remember my boyfriend getting out of the shower, and he said, "What is wrong with you? You look like you just saw a ghost." And I said, "I did. I pretty much did." And long story short, we went out to dinner. had our night with my kids. They went home, went to bed, and the friend that had called me and I were going out to celebrate my birthday. And we were driving to the place, and along the sidewalk from behind, I saw AJ walking to the place I was going to. And I said, "That's AJ." And she's like, "You're crazy. There's no way, it's dark. You couldn't, there's no way you would know that was him." I said, "I would know him anywhere, even from that many years ago. That is him." And I went in the back door. He went in the front door. And when he saw me, he picked me up off the ground, literally, and he was a big guy. He is a very big guy. And he just hugged me for what seemed like forever. And then he put me down and he said, "You broke my heart." And he's talking about 1997 and we're in 2011. And he said, "If you're interested in seeing, who we are now and being friends, I'm going through a divorce and you're with somebody, let's meet for coffee." And he gave me his number. And that is kind of where it started again in 2011. And he was scared to death of me. He was so drawn to me, yet scared of me because of that previous heartbreak. Right. And I felt it too. And we ended up discovering that over the years, we would think that we would see each other all the time, but we didn't, because we never even lived in the same place. But just that feeling, like almost like just visions of each other over the years. So that's where we met. That's where we re-met. And I'm not going to speak for all twins. I think twins just in general, whether their twins are still physically present on the earth plane or not, can learn a lot from someone whose twin has passed, because it's a lot of the same stuff that you go through. We had a lot of tumultuous times. I left my partner. His ex-wife came back from Mississippi. It's just a lot of crazy in between, living together, not living together. AJ suffered from what would be considered, as a human experience, a mental illness. And he became very suicidal. He talked a lot about ending his life, not having a lot of coping skills to go through what many twins, and I must again say not all twins go through the tumultuous times, but he just didn't have those coping mechanisms to navigate through the pain of being apart, the pain of other partners being involved, the pain of decisions that he had made. And ultimately he did end his life on March 1st of 2000, excuse me, and 16. I guess the thing of the aftermath and the before is, I would say probably 2 weeks before he passed, he was different. It was almost like something else had taken him over. He was not himself. He was so full of aggression, and his eyes didn't even look like his. He was just like, he just couldn't find that connection. It was just like something, and I'm just saying it was almost like someone else was there. It wasn't him anymore. And I became fearful. I didn't feel like I could be around him. I didn't know what to do. He had, been, he had lost his brother a couple of years before that to suicide. And he just kind of over time, just kind of spiraled. And so looking back, I definitely know that he was different before he passed. And, if it makes any sense, there was a healthier connection when he passed, even though I would do anything to have him hear that tumultuous relationship that he always defaulted to because he didn't know how to cope, and the threats and the everything. Not that he was always like that, but you know, he would lose sight of the connection. And I think twins that are both living, that happens all the time. You know, you just get caught in your ego, you get caught in circumstances, you get caught in jealousy, you get caught in betrayal, you get caught in not being able to be together. I just think so many things happen. And not to say he wasn't a strong person and that I'm stronger than him, but it really does take strength and self-awareness and good coping mechanisms to navigate this type of relationship. And I would say after he's been gone for 4 years, I learned something all the time. And sometimes more than others, like he's been around a lot lately. I mean, just a lot. And then there's times where he seems a little further away. And other times he's right here all the time. Just he might as well be, you know, part of, which he is, but you know what, my daily life. So I just think that I sought out, I can remember Googling things all the time. Twin has died, twin flame has died. You couldn't find anything. I mean, really, it was just like you're standing on an island by yourself and nobody understands what you're going through. Nobody understands that you literally feel like part of you is not here anymore. And so doing this today, I think is so important for twins that are both still living to help how to overcome some of the demons, so to speak, that we carry with us and getting through that ego. And I've learned so much on how to step back, and I can see things so differently. And it's like, he's always talking to me to tell me, like, if I find myself going out of my body and just not being who I know I need to be in a situation, he's always there saying, did you learn nothing? Did you learn nothing? You know, stop. You know, you're overreacting, or you're being hurtful, or you're trying to keep people at a distance. Your walls are up too much. You're doing this, you're doing that. And to bring me back to center, he's always there. Just really, honestly, it's not in a mean way. It's just really direct. Have you learned nothing, Jennifer? Do not let this be in vain. You have to learn. You have to be able to help other people. Don't just say things. You have to be able to walk the walk, live your life as the person that's learned something. And so much of what I've learned is I do have days, I would be lying if I said I don't have days. I blame myself for him not being here. I ask myself, what could I have done differently? I'm the one that found him. And because of the cycle of threats all the time of ending his life, I was always checking on him. I was always making sure he was at work, making sure if he was at home, making sure. And that day he was gone. And it's been hard at times to come to terms with that regret, or I should have done something. What if I would have done something differently? And I think twins just in general feel like that all the time, especially when they go into separation. Maybe if I wouldn't have said this, maybe if I wouldn't have attacked them, maybe if I would have listened more, maybe if I didn't let my childhood pain or my woundedness lead the conversation or lead this relationship, we would be together right now and we wouldn't be going through this. So I just think that this has so much value for twins everywhere, not just ones that have lost. I don't know. Is there anything else you want me to say?
You nailed all the points. I appreciate
okay.
that,
I was
friend.
I don't remember, but I'll try.
No, you got it. You got it. I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through what your experience has been, Jennifer. Thank you for that. Those are questions that I think everyone has. And I just appreciate you being willing to share what your experience has been on both sides. So,
and I will say, I don't know why I'm led to say this, but Lee and Sherry are actually the ones who contacted me to see if I would be on this panel. And Lee and Sherry were actually AJ and mine's twin flame coaches for 6 months. So we even went through the weekly separate together twin flame coaching with Lee and Sherry, to get help, just help us how to do this, to get out of our own way. And so they were a real blessing to both AJ and I. So support is so important. I'm not saying people have to go out and get a coach. I'm not saying you have to do that same thing, but to just have people that understand. And this Lee and Sherry Patterson, they went through the ringer, and our stories were very similar in a lot of ways. So I will say that even when he was still here, we needed that support to try to navigate the relationship, the connection.
Really appreciate that, Jennifer. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point, that not trying to do any of it alone goes a very long way in helping us open to love, soften to love. So thank you for sharing. We are also now joined by Miss Molly.
Hi, Molly.
From Behind the Limb. So I'm going to take a
moment. I love her background better than mine.
To pause and introduce her. And so Molly is a reader and guide for the Lightworker Collective on Behind the Limb on YouTube and Facebook. That's Behind the Limb, as if, limb of a body, like my arm is a limb, Behind the Limb, where she shares monthly and weekly tarot messages for each zodiac sign. And she's also findable over at behindthelimb.com. So welcome, Molly. It is wonderful to have you. Let me go ahead and unmute you so we can hear you. Oh, I have to say ask to unmute you. I can't just unmute you.
Unmute.
There you go.
Okay.
Welcome, Molly. Thank you.
Hey, hi. I got my times messed up. I'm so sorry.
Hi, Molly.
Totally okay. Welcome. We understand that happens.
All right.
We understand. So we were just doing stories. So I think we'll do Rochelle and then Nikki next, and then we'll close with you if that's okay.
No problem. I'm here.
Awesome. And then we'll do listener Q&A. So Rochelle, thank you for waiting, being so patient here, being so lovely. If you would be willing to share your story with us as well.
I'm getting goosebumps. I don't even know where to start. It's thank you for having me. When I was approached to be on this show, I think it was Jennifer.
That was me.
That was you. I just said yes, absolutely, because I have drafted an outline of a book on my twin flame experience with my soulmate Trent, but I haven't got to it yet because I have a full-time job and I'm writing novels. So I just find it's very heavy material to deal with, going back and retracing the experience of his passing because it's so intense. And he died by suicide as well. Okay, where do I begin? Do you want me to begin at the start when I met him?
Yeah, if you would share with us how you met, how you knew the connection was different, and what unfolded after recognition, that would be a great starting place.
Okay, so we met on Twitter. I tweeted my favorite band, Chicago. I've seen them in concert 11 times. So it was August 2015, and I had won concert tickets to go see them in Toronto. And I hadn't seen them in a few years, so I just felt like I wanted to go. And I won the tickets off the radio station, and then I tweeted them from my author account. And Trent was doing PR work for them. Trent Gardner, he's my twin that passed. And it was crazy because he just said, thank you for supporting the band. And he was just like a normal, everyday person, but I felt very compelled to know him. I wasn't sure at that point why I wanted to know him, but it was like my soul knew. When I saw his name and face, I just said, I need to know him, and I'm not sure why. So he approached me on under the premise of a friend in the music business, and he bought my novels and supported my writing. And about a month later, he just came out and said, would you come to San Francisco, for a weekend and meet up, all expenses paid. And I thought, oh, what have I got to lose? If I don't like him, I can come home to my normal life in my storybook town of Brooklyn, Ontario, with my poodle and my daughter and my writing career, and it'll be fine. But San Francisco was on the bucket list, and my idol Danielle Steele lived there, and I want to go to Golden Gate Bridge, so it was win-win no matter what. So we talked for a couple months, and I flew out there October 22nd, 2015, and surprise, connection of my lifetime. It just flowed effortlessly, like best friends who've known each other for 50 years, 40 years. And oh my God, I'm really here in San Francisco with my twin, and it just came out of nowhere. I was 38 years old. I felt like my life had begun the moment I met him, and I felt like I knew him from other lifetimes. It's really strange and bizarre and cosmic. And anyway, yeah, so I flew out there 8 times to be with him. He flew out here once. He had a disabled foster brother, 46 years old, autistic, who he cared for. And so Trent wasn't able to come to Toronto as often as I could fly out there. But anyway, so he was going through personal problems, and he didn't want to tell me, but he parted ways with the band around New Year's Eve 2015. So he said, I've split ways with the band. And for me, it felt like the end of an era, because we met because of the band Chicago. We both got into their music at age 15. And that's what led me to him. So my passion for Chicago led me to Trent. And I'll try to summarize because there's way too many details. And we got 10 beautiful months together. And then he was dead. June 11th, 2016, he wasn't answering his phone, and I felt, oh my gosh, he's ended his life, because he had said 2 days prior that he couldn't find the clip for his gun. So just kind of like Jennifer's story, where there was a mental health issue, but I wouldn't have known it, because the man was high functioning. He was brilliant songwriter, producer. He worked with Steve Walsh of Kansas and so many other progressive rock bands. And I just don't even know how to articulate, but he was, to me, one of a kind, phenomenal human being. And he would give the shirt off his back for me. And there was just such a love, like an unconditional love, where he would have spent his last dime to make sure I'm okay, me and my daughter, right? So I've never experienced that love in my life, not even from my blood family. So I really, my wish is for everyone to find their twin, but I didn't have that tumultuous, on again, off again, that a lot of twins go through. But we had such a short, brief time together. So I think we just made the most of it. And the long distance too, you just kind of you're consumed by one another, and you appreciate every moment. That's my summary.
You did good. You made me teary-eyed.
Thank you. Really appreciate that, Rochelle. I'm curious, what happened for you spiritually, physically, emotionally after your twin transition? And what's life been like after that initial transition?
Well, the funny thing is, the people I thought were my friends just totally left my life. They wanted nothing to do with me. They blamed me for his death. They thought, you were going to marry this guy? He took his life. He didn't love you. He left you. So I got a lot of judgment. So I had to go to counseling for 8 months, a bereavement group, because I was just a mess. I did not want to live. I did not want to keep on living on the earth plane without him, because it seems pointless. When that mission of being together, it's like, what do I do now? I had California. I was going to become an American, live in California, and write my books there and have my big publishing career. I had it all mapped out. Silly me, thinking I'm God, that I had it all mapped out, that I knew what was going to happen. So then my whole identity changed because, oh, I'm just me again. I'm just that girl, that small town girl in Canada that didn't have those big epic dreams come true. And so my identity changed everything for me. So I had to go to bereavement, and it really validated our love. It validated who he was, that yes, this loss is legitimate because of the judgment. And I didn't get support from my family either. Oh, he's far away. He died. He didn't love you. He's gone. Move on with your life, kind of thing. So through journaling and writing and music and the support of my people at my group, I was able to come through it. And I feel very joyful now. I don't blame him 1 second for him leaving this earth at all, because he lost his job. He lost his house to the bank. His water was shut off at his house. And he had nothing to live for over there, and he had no money either. So there was a lot going on, more than I could ever fathom. Like, there's probably a lot more to the story that he didn't tell me. So I'm not bitter. Some people are bitter that their partner ended their life, but I'm not. I don't feel any bitterness at all. I feel relief that he is in a better place, and he's with me. Like Jennifer said, he literally is with me every moment and every day, and he's talking. It's like I can hear him, not an audible voice outside my head, but it's like his spirit prompts me through every moment, difficult and joyful moments, and he guides me, and I'll get a windfall of money, or somebody will be there when I need them. And it's like he's literally my guardian angel beside me every day. So it's like a different relationship, but it's you just know they're there, right?
Yeah.
It's very comforting. But I'm not me. I'm not the old girl. I definitely, you go through a transformation spiritually and mentally when they pass, because you kind of have to figure out how to make it on your own now. Even though they're there spiritually, you feel like it's just you. Sometimes you feel like it's just you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I appreciate that. It's good to know that for you, the support afterwards there was a group that you went to. And it sounds like that message really was echoed with Jennifer as well. Like this journey, whether you're both together on the earth plane, one of you's on the other side, you can't do it alone. You need support
I
each
will,
step of the
sorry,
way.
I didn't want to take, but that, just so that I add to that for myself, because I didn't think of that, is yeah, I definitely was in therapy within 5 days, twice a week for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the only way that I was able to get through it, is just have that safe place for that hour or 2 hours twice a week, just to talk about him, to grieve, to try to get through it. So I didn't think of that, but yes, that outside support was very key that first year.
Very helpful. I appreciate that, Jennifer. Very helpful. Okay. So Miss Nikki, my invisible partner, is going to go next. I really, really appreciate you being willing to share your story, Nikki. So take your time, share what it is that you feel comfortable sharing. Don't feel the need to share any more than that. ladies, if you would be so kind as to mute so that Nikki's voice can come to the front of the screen so that the listeners know that Nikki's the one who's speaking, that would be fantastic. One of those tricky Zoom things. Okay, Miss Nikki, we're ready when you are.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, hello everyone. Miss Kay saw my content on one of her YouTube content and she invited me to join and share my story. So here I am. Well, I will start my twin flame story on how did we met. We met each other way back 1986. We were high school batchmates, but during those times we never talked with each other. But I knew there was something different from him. After graduation, we parted ways. 28 years later, and that's 2017, we came across each other to the FB page group of our high school batch. From then on, our communication started through chat, and we spent long hours chatting and never get tired of it. Before we came across each other that same year, I already have those feelings and questions on my mind. What is missing in my life? I can feel I have a bigger purpose, but I don't know what it is. I was living a comfortable life before he came. I was married. I have three young adult children. I am working on a corporate job. My husband never knew we were communicating. I was even surprised why do I keep entertaining this guy. I never entertained any guy during our marriage before I met him. Our communication was on and off. He would communicate for a day or two, then suddenly will disappear for some time. We never met on the physical yet, but the connection was very strong. There was this yearning inside of me, and I can feel those excruciating pain every time he won't communicate. We experienced the push and pull dynamic, the runner and chaser, and I was the chaser. During those times, I used to pray and communicate with God every morning. I would ask Him for guidance and protection. I always hear God's voice speaking to me, and I once asked God, why did you send him to me? Who is he? And that voice would speak to me to take care of him. No matter what happened, don't leave him. And I asked him, why should I do that? He told me that he bring people into my life. It is for a reason. Just trust and obey. I keep asking God, what is it in him? Why our connection was so different? It was like a soul to soul connection. The voice in my head told me that he is your other half. I did not fully understand what he meant, and I just go with the flow until such time I found myself searching in the internet what is the meaning of other half. And I came across the word soulmate, and I thought maybe he was really my soulmate, but I was not fully satisfied about the meaning of soulmate. I do search for more until I came across the word twin flame. It was the very first time I heard about that word. And when I learned the signs and symptoms, I felt goosebumps all over my body. It was an aha moment for me. It was on the month of November when I learned about twin flame. I told him about what I learned, and he also looked for its signs and symptoms in the internet, and he agreed with me. We both realized we love each other so much. We felt comfortable with each other, even if we didn't meet yet in the physical since we started communicating. After our first meeting, we, we were so intense, as if we knew each other for a long time and we felt bliss. Our communication continued, but we seldom see each other. Only for those times we are bound to meet, because I can feel that we were divinely guided. After our soul recognition, I was suddenly awakened from a deep sleep. Excuse me. My present life reflected back on me. I was living a lie. I thought I have a perfect life, a happy marriage, and a fulfilling job. Then suddenly the mask has fallen off. I realized I was on an empath narcissist relationship with my husband that was draining me the whole time. After that recognition, my soul nudged me to leave my marriage, and it was so devastating and lots of purging and dark night of the soul that took place. Living my marriage was never that easy being an empath, but I was empowered to do so. I realized I was healing our family lineage, having the same relationship pattern. After I left my marriage, I felt freedom, and I learned to love myself and make healthy boundaries to negative people. And our twin flame relationship grows more stronger and challenging with all its ups and downs. 2 weeks before my twin transition, he asked me if he asked me if I die, will you cry? He asked me that out of nowhere. On April 11, 2020, early morning, my twin texted me that he was not feeling well. I told him to take his medication or consult a medical doctor. He had a mild stroke last year but managed to recover fast. But he never went to the doctor, according to his sister. We lost communication after that. He did not text me back, and I could not reach his phone for a week. His sister told me later that he told her not to contact me. I thought he was okay, and I didn't feel anything strange except for the howling of our dogs. I never realized that he was dying. The night before he died, I was so restless. I could not sleep and didn't know why. It was April 17, 2020, when her sister called me and learned that he had a cardiac arrest. I was totally shocked and could not believe what I heard. I just found myself staring at his body at the morgue with so many questions on my mind. Why did he left me without even saying goodbye? He promised me he would never leave me, but there was no answer. I was with him the whole time until his body was cremated. It was so sudden and very painful. My soul was in shock. Then, after his transition, I felt so alone, scared, and confused. I thought we have a mission together. Why did it happen? While I was grieving, my cell phone rang. It was my twin's number calling. I answered my phone thinking that it was his sister checking on his contacts, but I heard nothing from the other line. That's why I hung up. Then it rang again. I answered my phone. I heard some background noise, but nobody is speaking. I soon realized it was my twin calling me to say goodbye and also to give me comfort. I told him not to worry. I can take care of myself. I love him so much and he can now rest in peace. After I said that, he hung up. I called his sister soon after and she told me that she did not call me. It was really my twin. That night I could not sleep. I was so devastated and wanted to die. I lost my best buddy and I lost myself. The following day was like living in an empty world and I felt that we lost our connection. On the third day after he died, while I was in my deep thoughts and not wanting to get up, then suddenly I heard his voice inside my head. He told me to get up, take a shower, and eat. He was making fun of me like he used to do. And suddenly, my energy shifted when I heard his voice. I knew it was him. My loneliness and grief suddenly disappeared. I felt oneness. I felt our souls merge. I felt his presence. He told me that he will never leave me and he's keeping his promise until now. Every time I speak to him, he will answer me back, and this gives me comfort and made me feel I am not alone, that he's still with me. Our telepathic communication has developed. I thought his transition would keep me from moving forward, but many things unfolded to me. I realized that separation is only an illusion. Loss is a loss and there is no easy way to handle grief. But our strong connection made me feel he is always with me. I walk around with my twin flames essence hanging around with me. I felt our union within. After my twin's transition, I realized that a twin flame journey is not about the other person, but it is all about us, our self discovery, self healing, self-love, and for the betterment of our well-being so that we can shine our light and guide others. All this self-reflection was mirrored to me by my twin. I found me and I was his vision. Yes, I was his vision. My twin's life has never been easy. He was on a drug addiction. He never get married but had some several toxic relationships before we met. I realized that the remaining 3 years of his life after we met was meant for me. He was sent to me by the divine at this point in my life wherein I am now ready to face myself, to look at my life and where it was taking me. It was the time I asked the universe what is missing in my life. And God gave me my twin to transform me into who I am supposed to be. Now I understand why God told me to take care of him. So there goes the story. Be careful what you wish for. But
Nikki, I'm going to
yes,
pause you right there. Can you repeat that last part? For some reason, there's some kind of feedback, and that last part felt really important. Can you say it again? I want to make sure from a sound perspective that we have it on the recording.
what particular
And just the last few pieces that you read, sentences, if you could say them again, that would be great.
I realized the remaining 3 years of his life after we met was meant for me. He was sent to me by the divine at this point in my life where I am now ready to face myself, to look at my life where it was taking me. And it was the time I asked the universe what is missing in my life. And God gave me my twin to transform me into who I am supposed to be. And now I understand why God told me to take care of him. Is that it?
Beautiful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I continue a little
Please.
more?
Yeah, there's some kind of clicking or something that goes on in the sound that keeps us from hearing certain things. I'm not sure if there's an adjustment you can make to the microphone because I really want to make sure we can hear you well.
Okay. So there goes the saying, be careful what you wish for. But I don't have regrets on meeting him and turning my life upside down because as I started to heal myself, raised my vibration, and changed my perspective about life, I also saw that people around me started to shift and awaken. His transition healed my codependency. He awakened me, and this awakening made my dark shadows come to light to be healed, and no one can ever do that for me. In flame journey is never an easy path, but is so rewarding because this is a service to others. If you are not on this path, you will never understand the connection and the mission. I may not know for now what exactly is my twin flame mission, but all I know is that this is just the beginning. And this really excites me now, trusting the unknown. Okay, that's it. Can
Nikki,
you hear
thank you.
me?
Yeah, there's still some kind of unusual feedback sound that I wasn't picking up when we did the sound check initially, but I can hear you. I thank you. I thank you for sharing that.
A little bit long.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was perfectly timed for the time that we have available, and it was beautifully shared. You're not the first or the only person who has had the experience of meeting their twin and being married to someone else, and the dark night of the soul that follows with that kind of awakening. It's very hard. So I appreciate you being willing to share so much with us today. Thank you.
I was guided to share those experiences.
You were ready, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Very much appreciated. So much appreciation. Okay. Miss Molly Mackey from Behind the Limb, if you would be so kind to go ahead and share your story next, that would be lovely.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay and everything?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you. We can see you. And if you're not Molly, if you want to mute, Nikki, if you want to mute, that would help as well.
I need to mute.
No. Nikki should mute.
And I'm so sorry about earlier. I think I hijacked one of those because I didn't know how to get the camera off. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Okay, so my twin, his name was Don. He was an Aquarius. February 18th was his birthday. He was significantly older than me. He was 25 years older than me. And we met, well, it wasn't really unusual. However, what is unusual is, and I hesitate to even say this because it sounds like, honestly, like telling the story of us, it sounds like fake or something. But I had actually dreamt of him a year prior to meeting him. And I had this fantastic dream, because I don't dream that often. So when I do, it's like very memorable. And it was very ethereal. And there was this man kind of sitting alone, and I never saw his face. And so I know you're probably thinking, well, how do you know it was him? But the body shape, everything, it was just like drilled into my brain from that dream. And so a year later, I walk into a bookstore, and I had been kind of peddling books at that time and things. And it was in Silver Lake, California. And the guy that owned the shop, Carl, he had said, hey, I know you've been kind of wanting to learn more about the book business, and I have this friend, and and I'll call him for you if you want, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool. So about a week later, I had some like really cool books I wanted to go sell Carl. So I hadn't heard from him or anything, and I just popped in, and his friend was there, and which was Don. And the second, and I mean literally the second he turned around to face me, because Carl was going to introduce us, I like literally, again, it sounds fake, but it was like lightning bolts like in my head, when I saw his eyes. They were just so, but it's just weird. It wasn't like I was starstruck, like with love. It was like I was scared. I saw his eyes, and I had this fear that kind of came over me, but it was like a good fear, if that makes sense. So anyway, I go to work for him right away, and I don't know, it's about like a week into it, and we're a couple. So and what was very intriguing too was, at the time I was reading a book that was a book that I had seen countless times, never bothered to read it, even though I knew everybody said it was so great and all that. But I had decided to read that book about a month before I met Dawn, and I was about halfway through it. It's pretty thick. It's called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, and I was about halfway through it, and then I met Dawn and went to work for him. And it just turns out that he had been a very active member of Paramahansa Yogananda had like an organization, self-realization fellowship organization. And he had been a print worker there for like 25 years. And it was like basically his philosophy. And I just happened to be reading this book, and just everything just clicked, man. And that was basically how we met, and our relationship took off pretty fast. I did not have the tumultuous experience, like a couple of you others mentioned that you did not either. We clicked immediately, and it was just like my best friend, my mentor. He taught me so much in his silence and his strength. He did things that were mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't even understand. He was just a very unusual human being. And I think he was kind of like a very quiet saint in a sense. I mean, I don't mean to put him like too high on a pedestal, Venus and Sagittarius. But to me, that's how he appeared. He had also done Kriya Yoga for over 25 years. Something that I have not delved into yet, but plan on eventually. So he was pretty high, as far as meditating and those types of things. And he taught me numerous life lessons. It's still to this day. So let's see. So that's pretty much it. He, when he passed, it was very sudden. It was a stroke as well. The other woman mentioned, and it really sucked, because I didn't know what was going on. And, by the time I figured out what had happened, I think he had been kind of in that stroke area for a while. So when they took him to the hospital, I was just obviously a wreck. I was just in tears, and, not much help with anything. But he had asked not to be put on life support, but they had put him on, you know, because that's what they do until everybody shows up. And at his passing, there was I think it was maybe like a Catholic preacher or something. I'm not sure. You know, someone was in there, and they were reading their things, and I just, it felt so wrong to me. And no, I am not. No offense towards any religions at all. I am open to all religions, but it did not feel right. And Don was not, you know, Catholic, you know, and but he kept reading and reading, and I just kept looking at it. I'm like, please. And I go, please stop. I go, just leave. I felt kind of bad about that, but I needed to do that because, you know, they had taken him off life support, and it was very traumatic. And as soon as he left, and it's like, I had Don's hand, and it's like, I just started like reciting some of his favorite passages of the Gita. He loved the Bhagavad Gita. That was his favorite book. And just this, like, even though he was like in a coma and no life support and stuff, but the electricity is like, what they talk about, that is real. Like, his energy, I don't know how to explain it, but it went into me. I know it did. And that might sound crazy, but it did, because for a good month or two, and actually more like a year, but for the first month or two, my body was just like, would quiver from the energy that I had within me. And I think it was his 25 years built up of meditation and energy and chi and stuff. I don't know, but it just seemed to pass to me, and it lasted like for a very long time. It was almost uncomfortable. Well, it was uncomfortable, but I had very many enlightening experiences after that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Molly. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. It's helpful to hear, you know, that the commonalities and the threads between the
Yeah.
different experiences, that for all of you, it sounds like there was some level of, you know, your twin letting you know they were with you
Yeah.
once they were on the other side. And I'm sure that there's different ways that that'll happen for many other people as well.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and your twin has recently departed the earth plane, look for the ways that they haven't departed you. Look for the ways that they are showing you that they are still there with you. I would say is probably one of the key takeaways here. I'm going to open the floor now for viewer Q&A. For people who have been watching and listening, I thank you. If you're led to drop the video a like, it will help the content get circulated via the algorithm and find its way to people who need it. But don't feel like you have to. But if you have a question, now is the time to share that, and then I'll let you answer it. Nikki, Jennifer, Molly, and Rochelle, I thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I'm curious because, you know, life is happening after this departure. What has your twin shown you about loving other people after their move forward and their transition? Has there been anything that they've shared or mentioned, and have you been able to?
Great question. Does somebody else want to go first, or? I don't have the feed like on my because I can't, my internet is so bad here, I can't see the chat feed and stuff. So just let me know when I should jump in.
Now's a great time, Molly.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. That is a fantastic question. I think absolutely it taught me immensely because I learned what a needy person I was in that relationship, and how that dynamic just didn't work. You know, like I said, he was so powerful and calm and all of those things. So I took, you know, I think maybe from having that transfer of energy also, I think that helped, but I took that to heart. And, you know, I've also had a journey, and I'm going to say this too, because this is really, really important, I think. and I don't know the whole definition of twin flame, but I do feel that I have another, but this one's been a little bit more of the on and off, kind of a little rocky kind of thing. Okay, for the past 10 years. We were, by the way, Dawn and I were together 10 years, but what I tried to bring that dynamic, of what I learned from that past relationship into my next relationship, and I think it's really key, to learn from those things. And I certainly learned a lot, and definitely carried it to my next one for sure. It gave me a lot of strength, and I feel that would be for anyone out there who has lost someone, because I get it. It feels like, how can you even come close to that? When you've lost someone like that, it's I think a lot of people just figure they never will, or they'll give up, or what have you, but don't, because I think it's that would be dishonoring it in a sense, is to, sure, always honor that relationship, but also honor the fact that what you learned, and to pass that on to your next fruitful relationship. So
I appreciate that sharing, Molly. Thank you. And just to validate and confirm for you, there are those who will say, no, a twin flame can only be one person for you. However, I have been shown, and I also have been told that you can have more than one. It's very rare. Only very, very advanced souls incarnate that way. And that's all they told me. They were like, yeah, you don't need to worry about that. That's not your business right now, Miss K. But they did show me that it's not unusual. It's just rare.
I'll say something on that. It's really interesting, because there was a point I thought, I was like, I think a lot of times, like, you're losing your mind a little bit at like certain things. And I went through of that feeling, like Molly was talking, like, you don't really think that that's possible, because you already know that it's such a rarity to have your twin incarnate with you. So how can that happen again? When you get your humanness going, you try to make sense of everything. And I can remember, this has been a few years back. AJ's been gone for 4 years, but I would say maybe like a year after he passed, it was shown to me that it's the same way that there's triplets and quadruplets. And, it's not, those are not, now with modern medicine, you see a lot more twins and multiple births. But as it stands, it didn't used to be something that was common, but it happens. And that was kind of the information that was guided to me, is it's much the same as there could be multiples in birth. We can too have multiple, not over and over, but that is possible for another to come into your life in that way. So that was the way it was explained to me. So I'll explain it to others.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. It's certainly not for me to judge, as that hasn't been my experience. I know nothing about it. I simply have been shown that it's possible, same as you. So thank you for sharing that has been your experience, Molly.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look down here for any questions. I don't see any that have come in just yet. Just
Miss
tons of
Kay.
gratitude. Yes, Nikki,
Hello,
go
Miss
for
Kay.
it.
I
Hi.
want to add up on what you have just said, that maybe we have more than one twin flame. You already said that because my twin kept telling me he will come back, and I didn't know how or why is he telling me that. Maybe I have another twin. I don't know.
Oh, wow. So your twin has been telling you that he's coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There is truly, if he's literally telling you that, who are we to tell you that's not going to happen, right? That's not for us to say. So thank you for sharing that piece as well. So for those of you who've had that experience, know that, no, you're not crazy.
Yeah,
You're not crazy. Does anyone else want to chime in on the topic of love after the loss of your twin, loving another?
can't really think of anything else, really. Just the importance to learn, learn from it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, even in all relationships in your life.
Yeah.
You tend to look at it differently. It's the same type of thing where AJ will say to me, did you learn nothing?
Yeah.
In all relationships.
When you said that, yeah.
Yes, it's like, to look at things from a different perspective, to try to understand people's paths, why they're acting the way they are, how it's manifesting in your relationship or friendship or whatever it may be. I was very quick, I'd say somewhere in the middle of our relationship, I was very quick to get irritated with him, to just like, why are you acting like, what are you doing? But he's taught me so much about just understanding other people's past journeys, lessons, how they've come, what they have to overcome. The funniest thing is, not everybody is going to react like you do, Jennifer, to like understand that people are still, there's people that are behind you, not in a negative way, but that are behind you and they have something to learn from you. And there's people in front of you that you have things to learn from. So respect and appreciate everybody on the path and where they're at on their own path. Show love, compassion. Don't be quick to judge. I think you were talking about that at the beginning of how it can trigger people to judge other people and what they're going through. That's been a huge lesson along the way, is to notice what triggers you instead of just being triggered. Why are you being triggered? And I think there's a lot of lessons by what triggers you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. I would agree with that 1,000%. Let's talk about the topic of, support, because for each of you, Molly, I think it's been 20 years at this, no, 10 years at this, no, how many years has it been?
Oh gosh, 2008. So yeah, it's been a while.
12. And Jennifer and Rochelle, when was it? It was 27, 18, 19?
2016 for both of us.
16. It was, and I know it was the same year. These days, do you still experience grief? When the grief hits, what do you do? How do you manage it in real time at this moment of your journey?
That's a good question too. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't go away. That's for sure. The grief part, I feel I've gone through. I didn't for a while, I took it very, very hard and very, very hard, but I mean, like everybody did, not like, oh, more than it, I don't mean that, but I mean, of course I did. And I went through that. Grief wise, I dealt with that pretty quick because we had kind of more of an unusual circumstance in the fact that since he kind of was so, engulfed in sort of this Eastern type philosophy and meditation and things like that, that I went through a long period of not wanting to connect with him because I didn't want to hold him back. So by that, I mean, if there's any truth, to going through the wheel of karma and so forth, I really wanted him to make it off that damn wheel. And if anybody had a shot, it was him. So I really tried very diligently not to pull his energy to me and in that way. The energy was in there already, so that was there, but as far as like my thoughts, like I didn't call out to him constantly. I didn't, those types of things, because I didn't want to create a magnet to pull him back to earth. So I know that sounds very high, weird, cosmic-y kind of crap, but it's like that's kind of like where my mindset was at. So the grief part, like I didn't deal with for a little bit, and then I did. And then after that, I would say, I mean, as long as it's been now, I wouldn't say every day that I think about him, but you know, it doesn't go away, but it's, but you can still certainly, you know, enjoy other relationships or other, you know, factors of things. And, you know, I certainly, best way to deal with it is just kind of think of time and you know, you guys are going to meet again. You know, that's it.
Perfect. Current day grief, Miss Rochelle, Miss Jennifer, how does it come up? When it comes up, what do you do?
Go ahead, Rochelle.
Mine comes in what I call a grief spurt. It could be a song in a store playing, a vision of us driving in California, holding hands, our favorite restaurant, just anything. It could be the scent of cologne that reminded me of him. Yeah, just it's a spurt, but it's a different kind of grief now. And Saturday, he passed on a Saturday. It's always a Saturday when I have the grief, and it doesn't last very long. But it's just, I don't know if that's his spirit coming through.
And what do you do for yourself in those moments? How do you move through it?
Because it's very brief, I just let the emotion come over me and have a cry
Yeah.
and talk to him and tell him I miss him and I love him. So it doesn't last very long.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jennifer.
Well, like this happened recently. His birthday was May 22nd. And so, and like last May 22nd compared to this May 22nd was not the same. Like last May 22nd, I can't really remember, as I call it, going into the ugly Oprah cry. This May 22nd, it started on the 21st. And my 15-year-old son, you know, kept coming into my room and he's like, you know, I see your sad boy, trying to joke around with me. And I'm like, oh, you know, and just cry. I mean, I just was like a 2-day thing. And it just kind of hit me harder this year. And you just don't know. You don't know. And it's not just because it's the day, because I don't believe that just because it's a day, you have to say, oh my gosh, this is their birthday or the day they died. I'm going to make myself go into cry mode or missing mode. But there's just something at different times. Holidays, it could be a Tuesday and nothing attached to it that was of any significance. And, you know, I'm just overcome with grief. Sometimes I laugh through the grief because I'm thinking about good times. It's a good cry. Sometimes it's a very sad cry. And I'm just one that believes in allowing yourself to feel what you feel. So whatever you're feeling in that moment, just allow yourself to feel it. Don't resist it. Don't you talk yourself out of it. Just allow yourself to feel it. If it ends up being a 2-day thing, then 2 days. For Mother's Day this year, my 17-year-old daughter, they always write me letters, which I feel so grateful for, but she wrote me this great letter. And then she put an arrow, you know, look on the back. And the back was a message that my dad, who died when I was 16, and AJ had come to her and said that they're great buddies and that they are always looking out for me. And her message was, you know, to live your life without hesitation. And of course, that was an ugly cry too. So twice this month, I've had a couple ugly cries. But just like that, just looking for the signs, they're everywhere. They really are. I mean, I know you're talking about grief, but honestly, they're just everywhere. It could come through a song, like Rochelle was saying. It can come through words from someone else. It can be, you know, whatever it is. And sometimes you smile at it and sometimes you melt down and you just have to, whatever it is that's happening. And sometimes you're angry. Sometimes you feel like, why, you know, and then you do have to get back into understanding the path and, you know, not being angry. Like Rochelle was saying, she never felt angry. I wish I could say that. I've had a lot of why moments, of, you know, trying to understand it, but just allow yourself to feel what you feel when you feel it. That's the best advice I can give you.
Thank you. It's very helpful. Miss Maureen McIntyre asks, when you dream, do they still come into your dreams to connect with you?
Yeah, I've had that experience. Yeah.
Is it a very different kind of dream at all than your other dreams, or is it kind of just the two of you having experiences together?
It's for me, it's him, it's all him. But oddly, it's just kind of weird. Like we're usually like in like it's a city, but it's different. So I don't know how to, you know, it's Dreamland City. So but it's usually I usually just kick myself because I don't remember, you know, the whole conversation or whatever we'll have. And it doesn't feel, I'm going to be honest, it doesn't feel like it's this big, profound experience, like we're meeting again or anything like that. I wish it did. I'd love to say it did. But I think he does come to me occasionally in dreams, but it's very normal stuff. So.
For me, I've had all the way and see, I'm different. They always stick with me. They stick with me. Like I can remember them like they just happened yesterday. They're very clear, and it can be anywhere from, you know, the one that really sticks out of my mind is him saying, you know, what do you miss most about me? And I was like, your hugs. You know, he's just such a big guy and I'm only 5'4". And, you know, and he's like, well, you know, I'm always giving you those. All the way to him. And it's interesting because someone was saying about coming back, him being here, but not here, almost like he several times over the years of, the only way I can describe it is not like he would, how do I explain this? Not like reincarnating, like from a new person, but like his essence was going to be somewhere. And so I kept having dreams of he was here, but he was sick. Like he just wasn't ready to come back yet. I don't know how to explain it. That was a lot of the dreams that I would have, is that he was here, but he was still past, and just showing me where he was on his journey to, I don't know how to describe it. Get back, come back, go somewhere. I don't know. And it was really interesting because Lee and Sherry actually had me watch a movie. I think the first year he died, they said, don't ask any questions, just go watch this movie. And it was a really old movie. It was Heaven Can Wait. And it had, what's his name in it? What's his name? Warren Beatty.
Hudson? Oh.
Yeah, Warren Beatty. Like it's old. It's an old movie.
Yeah.
But the point is that he was going into other people to try to connect with somebody. So that's what my experience has been. And they're very vivid and they're very real and they're very comforting, very comforting.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, ladies. Rochelle, Miss Benita Morlang asks, and this is for everyone as well, have any of these beautiful ladies moved on with dating or in relationships? And I think each of you, except for Nikki, has maybe mentioned something akin to that. And if so, how does the experience that you had with your twin color your feelings or your new relationships?
Oh, is this addressed to me?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But it's okay. Everyone can share too.
Oh, I haven't been fortunate enough to be in a relationship since he passed. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
there's been very many interesting and intriguing men. And like Molly said, she said Aquarius, February 18th. And that's very strange because I wrote a novel about a twin flame experience with a man born February 18th, and he's 20 some years older than the lady in the book.
Wow.
So yeah, I just wrote it in November and I published it. It's called Call My Name. So it's available on Amazon, but this isn't a sales pitch. But
Oh,
I just found it very, like, that's when you said February 18th, and I went, oh my God, and my face lit up. So anyway, yeah, back to that. So I had a real life man inspire that book, and his name is Stephen, and he inspired that book. And I mean, nothing happened there, but I think he just came to awaken the love in me, to show me that, oh, I can be attracted to someone else again. And even if it's not with him, it'll be with somebody else down the road. But I feel like maybe this is my time to heal and focus on me and get more books written, because I'm still an indie author. I'm still waiting on that big book deal. But yeah, I haven't been blessed enough to be dating yet, but I'm open to it. I think I'm ready. So
Wow. Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate that. Very helpful. And what a coincidence, huh?
yeah.
yeah.
Those twin flame sinks are everywhere.
They are. It's a real thing. I would say mine is interesting. I've had the push pull of the person that I was with at the time AJ came back into my life and wasn't with them. And then AJ and I were together. And then I had that very pull, codependent, comfortable, reliable pull. And that was part of my lessons. And a year ago, so 3 years after AJ died, I finally moved my children and I by ourselves, which was a huge step for me to take, because I have had a ton of codependency stuff going on where I just wanted reliable for my kids. I just wanted to, not to sound depressing, but you just feel like you've had that great love. You're not going to get it again. And why not just, live your life in a, not a miserable way, but just everyday, love, friendship, whatever it was, familiar, and I did all of that. And it's funny, we've been on our own for a year now, and he's still in my life very much. But what's interesting is somebody came back into my life from the same year I met AJ, that 97, left in the same way AJ did, where he literally moved out of state. I have this thing with making people leave. I have no idea. I don't know. They have to flee the entire scene. They can't just be in the same city or the same state. They literally hop states and leave without even saying goodbye. Same exact situation. And coming back into just, Facebook being the thing that it is, of just saying hi and this person being like, you broke my heart. And it's just weird. And that's still, I still navigate that because it's so weird to me. I just allow it to unfold because it's crazy. It's 97. AJ's football number was 97. He played football till he was 28 years old. That was his number. That happens to be the year both of these men were in my life, and they both left the state of Iowa to get away from me. And they both made weird ways back in. So I just am very much learning lessons through that. Even now, I'm probably learning the most right now that I ever have, of being able to look at my own patterns, my own fears, my own stuff. So I'm still in the middle of that. So to be continued.
So beautiful. It's interesting because it's precisely for twins who are together, for twins who are in separation, and now seeing this for twins who have twins on the other side. What you just described is precisely what's happening energetically for twins across the board, according to the astrology. It's like, hey, get a hold of the patterns, man. Let's transcend these.
And you have to be ready you really do have to be ready. I mean, I kept, my ego is always in the room trying to make an appearance, trying to control the situation, and it's just not to be controlled. So I would say surrender is a big theme, is surrender.
You gave me a lot of life with that one. I had a good crack up. It's funny when we know ourselves, it's like, oh, okay. We're back at it again. Are we Kay? This is what we're doing? Got it.
Well, and when I really look at it, I think I met these two people the same year at only over half my lifetime ago. And the same thing happened. I made the same choice, went back to the same guy. They both left me because of it in the same calendar year. And they both came back into my life in weird ways and had their own baggage. And it's just, you can't, this stuff is everywhere. The signs, the synchronicities, they really are everywhere. And it's just, sometimes I'm like, put the brakes on. I'm not ready to face this again. Like I did this once in my life, and I need some time to figure out even about myself. And it's more about me than it is about them. It's me figuring out, and AJ always in my head, are you really going to do this again? Are we doing this again? Are we doing this again? Can you tell your alter ego to take a seat, go in the corner, get out of here, knock it off? But that's what the twin flame journey is about, is really just learning about yourself, healing, learning. It's what it's all about. And sometimes I'm like, nah, I'm not really up for it again.
I'm gonna need a breather. I'm gonna need
I
to
need
have some other experiences in life.
A little breather here. Thank you. But
yeah, I need to eat some lasagna and watch some TV. We'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Miss Molly.
Like I said, to be continued.
Yeah, ... for real. I get that. Molly, you mentioned that there is someone that you've dated since. And so for the person who asked that question, I'm just going to ask you to go back and take a look at what Molly shared prior to asking that question. But is there anything else that you wanted to say about being in a relationship post?
No, not really. I think she just summed it up very well too. Just keep going. Yeah, keep the egos and things in check, and keep working. We're here to love. So let's do it.
Awesome. So Angela M asks, do any of the ladies want to share any stories of how their twins have significantly come through to them from the other side since their passing? And Nikki, I think you shared that your twin came through with a phone call after your twin departed. Is that right?
Yeah, told me. It was after I went home, my cell phone rang, and I saw it was my twin's number calling, and I answered my phone thinking it was his sister calling me. Checking his contacts, but I heard nothing from the other line. That's why I hung up. Then it rang again, and I answered my phone. I heard some background noise, but nobody is speaking. That soon I realized it was my twin calling me to say goodbye and to comfort me. Then I told him not to worry, I can take care of myself. I love him so much and he can now rest in peace. And after that, he hung up. And I know it was him. Yeah, that was the time he contacted me after his transition.
Wow. Okay. Very beautiful, Nikki. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure that gave you a little bit of comfort knowing that he wanted to make sure you were okay.
Yeah, because he left suddenly without saying goodbye. That's why I was totally shocked. And he comforted me by calling me. That's the way he can tell his saying goodbye, and that's it.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate you sharing that. Jennifer, Rochelle, Molly, have there been moments when your twin has significantly come through from the other side?
Yeah, I actually, just a few months after he passed, my phone got really, really, really hot. Like I can't, like, hot to the touch. Like, it just, I don't even know. It wasn't on the charger or anything. It got really, really hot. And as clear as it could have been, not on the phone wasn't turned on, his voice came through. I mean, just a very clear, it was him. And my phone did not work for 2 days after that. It completely stopped working. I mean, I couldn't get it to turn on. I couldn't get it to do anything. I think I told everybody I knew about it, because I just could not believe it. This is crazy. His voice was through my phone, and now my phone is broke. It won't even turn on. And then like 2 days later, it just started working again, and that was it. But it was like, somehow, I don't know if it was the electronics. I don't know. I still don't know. I don't know if was the frequency of a phone. I don't know what it was, but he was able to use it and came through, and I could hear his voice, and then it just didn't work for 2 days. Nothing like that's ever happened again, but it did happen that time.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The way the spirit realm interacts with the technology realm.
They do. Yes. And it got really hot right beforehand. I just what is going on? And then, and then it just wouldn't even work for a couple days. And then it worked like it always had. After those couple days, it came back around. I even took it into the phone place. What's wrong with my phone? They couldn't figure out anything. It just would not turn back on. So that was my really cool experience.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Molly. Anything
like
like that you'd
story.
like to share? Yeah, I know the tech situation is just, it's a lot of fun. But I mean, if you don't want to share anything, you don't have to, but it's lovely
I got a couple of things, nothing that amazing. No. So that's cool. I'm good.
Oh, okay, fabulous. Okay.
Yeah.
Maureen McIntyre asks, do you still get them gut feelings of being sent love from your twin? Yeah. I see
always.
the nods.
All the time.
Yeah, always.
Yes.
100% yes, across the board.
Yeah.
Nikki said yes. Everyone nodded, said yes. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. I think that's probably a pretty lovely place to close, knowing that, no matter how long it's been, no matter what's happening, they will still send you love, even from the other side. Ladies, I thank you so much from, the depths of my spirit for saying yes to this particular panel. I know this is not an easy topic. Or it's one of your most sensitive losses, and here you are sharing it with complete strangers. And I just want to say that it is an honor to have been able to witness the great love that changed your life, and be able to share this space in this moment with you. I know that as this video reaches many people in the months and years to come, it will support them in finding the comfort they need to know that whatever they're experiencing after a loss like this, they're not crazy and they're not alone. And so, in closing, if this is your experience, all of these women have shared that in some way they have received some level of support. And if you need support, it is okay to reach out for it. Find the support that works for you. Grief counseling groups, people who are there to be with you. It is important at any stage of your twin flame journey, whether it's in this realm or beyond, to get the support you need to keep growing and keep loving. I thank you all so much for being here. Take great care, and bye for now.